Okay, let's dive in. As a pharmacist, you're on the front lines. And when an athlete walks in with questions about supplements or medications, you need to have the answers. This explainer is your guide to navigating that complex world of performance enhancers in sports.
So here's our game plan. We'll start with why athletes even go down this road, look at the rules of the game, break down what's prohibited, then talk about the common supplements you'll actually get questions on, and we'll wrap it all up with a practical playbook for you.
All right, Section 1, the athlete's quest. To really get a handle on this topic, we first have to understand the why. And believe me, the drive for a competitive edge is nothing new. It's been around for, well, pretty much as long as sports have been around. So think about this for a second. What on earth could possibly connect ancient Greek Olympians, soldiers in World War II, and a professional athlete today? It sounds like the setup for a joke, right? But the answer is, they were all looking for that same thing, a performance advantage.
And you can really see how this has evolved over time. I mean, we're talking about athletes in ancient Greece using things like herbs and mushrooms. But the real game changer? Fast forward to World War II. Soldiers were given amphetamines to stay awake and fight off fatigue. And it didn't take long for that idea, using pharmaceuticals for performance, to jump from the battlefield right into the sports arena in the 1950s.
So, let's get our terminology straight, because you'll hear this term a lot. Ergogenic aid. It sounds super technical, but it's really just a catch-all for anything external that helps an athlete perform better. And I mean anything, from high-tech running shoes and knee braces, all the way to supplements and, yes, even anabolic steroids.
Okay, Section 2, rules of the game. The history is fascinating, for sure, but for you in the pharmacy, this is where it gets real. Understanding who makes the rules and how they work is absolutely essential. So who's in charge here? Well, there are two main organizations you've got to know. First, there's the big one, WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency. They set the rules for the whole world. Then, here in Canada, we have the CCES, the Canadian Centre for Ethics in Sport. They take WADA's rules and put them into action nationwide. These are the rule makers.
You might be wondering, how does something actually get banned? It's not just some random list. There's a clear process. For WADA to put something on the prohibited list, it has to check at least two of these three boxes. 1, it helps performance. 2, it's a health risk. And 3, it goes against the spirit of the sport. So it's a pretty logical system when you break it down.
Okay, but here's a great question. What about an athlete who needs a banned substance for a real medical reason? Think insulin for diabetes or an ADHD medication. Well, there's a system for that. It's called a therapeutic use exemption, or TU. It's basically a doctor's note that gets official approval, and it's a super important exception for you to know about.
Let's move on to Section 3, the prohibited list itself. Now don't worry, nobody expects you to memorize this entire thing. It's huge. The goal here is just to get familiar with the major categories. That way, when you see a drug name, a little red flag might go up in your mind.
First up are the substances that are banned all the time, whether an athlete is competing or not. And yeah, you're going to recognize a lot of these. We've got the obvious ones like anabolic steroids, testosterone, nandrolone, for building muscle. Then you have diuretics like furosemide, which can be used to cut weight fast or even to hide other drugs. And, of course, hormone modulators like tamoxifen, which are often used to manage the side effects from steroid cycles.
Now things get a little more nuanced. Some substances are only banned in competition. This list includes stimulants, like methylphenidate, and narcotics like oxycodone. But the one to really pay attention to here is corticosteroids. And the key is how they're taken. If it's oral, IV, IM, or rectal, it's banned in competition. But things like inhalers or injections into a joint, those are generally okay. That detail is so important.
Okay, pharmacist alert. This is a huge one for anyone in a community setting. Let's talk about pseudoephedrine. It's in tons of over-the-counter cold and sinus meds, right? Well, if an athlete takes too much, it's prohibited in competition. The official advice from WADA? Stop taking it at least 24 hours before a competition. This is probably one of the easiest ways for an athlete to fail a drug test by accident.
All right, Section 4. We spent a lot of time on what's banned, but let's be honest, most of the questions you're going to get at the counter are about the stuff that's allowed. So let's switch gears and talk about some common supplements.
To really see the difference, just look at this comparison. It's night and day. On one side, you have something like an anabolic steroid. It's synthetic, it's banned, and it comes with a laundry list of serious side effects. On the other side, you have something like creatine. It's a natural compound, it's totally permitted, and it has a fantastic safety record. Both help with strength,
but they're in completely different universes.
So when that athlete comes up and asks, should I take creatine? Here's your quick cheat sheet. First, yes, it works, especially for power stuff like lifting weights. Second, there's a simple dosing strategy, a loading phase followed by a maintenance dose. Third, side effects are pretty rare, maybe some stomach upset. And finally, it's cheap. It's probably one of the most studied and effective supplements on the market.
And let's just bust a huge myth right now, the one about creatine being bad for your kidneys. This quote says it all. After tons and tons of research, scientists have found no compelling proof that it harms kidney function, not in healthy people, and not even in people who already have kidney issues. That is a powerful piece of information you can use to reassure someone.
Protein is another big one you'll get asked about. How much do I really need? Well, for people who are active and exercising, the science points to a clear range, somewhere between 1.4 and 2.0 grams of protein for every kilogram of body weight, each day. It's a nice, solid, evidence-based target you can give them. Okay, last section, and this is probably the most important one, the pharmacist's playbook. This is where we take all that knowledge and turn it into something you can actually use the next time you're talking to an athlete. This is about putting it all into action.
You know, it really helps to realize that not all athletes are the same. You can kind of break them down into 3 groups. You've got your cautious users, they're the biggest group, and they just want to be safe. Then you have medical users who are taking something because they have to. And then you have the knowing users who know exactly what they're taking and why. How you approach each of these conversations is going to be totally different.
If you remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this tool. It's the WEIGHTS, WEIGH $sign acronym. It's a simple, structured way to assess any supplement an athlete asks you about. W is for what's your goal. E is for what's your exercise type. Then you just work your way down. I for who recommended it, G for gathering their history, H for how effective it is, T for the risk, and that $sign for, you guessed it, is it cost effective? It's a brilliant little framework. And look, you don't have to be a walking encyclopedia. The key is knowing where to find the right information. These are your go-tos. Global DRO is your best friend for checking if a specific drug is banned. The WADA and CCS websites are the official sources for the rules. And for supplements, the NSF Certified for Sport website is crucial for finding products that have been third-party tested. Bookmark these. Seriously.
So, let's bring it all home. The next time that high school athlete or weekend warrior walks up to your pharmacy counter, you're ready. You've got the background, you know the rules, and you have a playbook in your back pocket. The only question left is, what's the first thing you're going to ask them?